So I'm not sure if the live stream is working, but anyway, I will start the meeting. So welcome to this week's IPLD meeting. It's March the 4th, 2019. Welcome everyone. This is a quick SIGUP call, what we did in the past 2 weeks or even 4 weeks, because we haven't had a call the last week, 2 weeks ago. And let's go through the agenda. So if anyone has anything you've been working on, please put it in the 2 weeks update list. And also please put your name on the attendees list. And it would be great if I could have a note taker. Any volunteer for note taking?
I can do the notes.
Thanks, Jim. Again, it probably won't be much because it's mostly about updates. Put your name on the attendees list.
Hi, welcome. In this video,
oh no,
I'll
not
show
again.
you how to build a distributed app.
I disabled it for a zillion times.
Always hear that darn video every single time.
Yeah, I manually edited my Firefox config to disable autoplay, but I guess some update came in and okay. All right, but the live stream is working now. That's great. Okay, so back to the meeting. All right. I start with the update for myself. I'm currently working on the IPLD selectors stuff. I've linked in the notes. I also put the notes into the chat room. Sorry. I've put in. I have a PR on the IPLD spec repository with the new IPLD selector stuff that we're working on. I have a basic implementation even. And so if anyone's interested, please have a look and leave comments. I've also done some tooling around IPLD because I needed to test it out things. So I need to see what data is in the repository so you can visualize it with GraphViz. And now it's possible to add your own tests without knowing JavaScript. So it's just dropping in files, which might also be beneficial for people playing with it. And we also moved the JavaScript side to Travis, which is a bit of work. And now almost all IPLD repositories have been moved to Travis. That's what I did. So I see that Hannah, so are there any questions? If not, then I move on to Hannah. Please give us your update.
Hi folks. If anyone hasn't seen me here before, I'm working on the GraphSync library in Go, or the initial GraphSync library in Go, which is going to use IPLD selectors and the traversal functions that Eric is working on in Go IPLD Prime. So my update is mostly last week was me, based on all the sort of progress and things that we know now about IPLD, the Go IPLD Prime library, what its interfaces are likely to look like, although not necessarily. I was working on basically figuring out exactly how that implementation is going to work in the GraphSync library, and gaining some alignment around that. And then also, like, there's actually, I basically need to do some work to mock Go IPLD Prime so that I have something to call, even though it's not for real, in my library for the time being. So that's what I've got, and I think I'm basically clear to write code. I don't know that I will, obviously whatever I write will most likely end up changing as things, change in Go IPLD Prime and whatnot. But I at least feel like I've got enough clarity and enough work that's going to have to happen that, like, I'd like to make progress even if there's some cleanups and fixes, because there's going to be a lot of work, and it needs to be somewhere along the way when Go IPLD Prime is locked out. So that's what I got. Yeah, and thanks for folks who read that issue that I posted last week. So.
Cool. Thanks for the update. Does anyone else want to give any updates? And if not, then yeah, Molly.
This isn't my update to give, but I think it's relevant to this forum, which is the Rebooting Web of Trust summit conference happened this past weekend. And I know that Johnny Crunch, who frequently comes to these meetings and is working on DID, and Andre Cruz, I believe, who's on the decentralized distributed, the DDC working group. I always have trouble with those two. They met up and talked a lot about how to move forward on their identity spec and have some improvements, and are planning to write a paper. So cool stuff. And it's built on top of IPLD and using the concepts here. So figured it was relevant to this group. Jim, did you want to add something to that?
Oh, I think Adine was there too.
Cool, yeah. So I think we can expect a report from those guys on the cool stuff that went on at that conference.
Cool, thanks for the update. Eric isn't here this week. He is actually currently in Berlin at a W3C meeting about linked data, it is. And it's there is Eric, and Joel is there as well. Yeah, so he can't attend, but there will also be probably exciting things to talk about. Next, so in the meeting in 2 weeks, Michael said he will be 10 minutes late and we should start, but I guess if we finish before he's coming, that's also not a big deal for him, I guess. So is there anything else we should discuss, or are there any questions, or? Yeah, Jim?
Just a question. Can you give a high-level summary of what you decided in terms of architecture?
Oh, on the graph sync stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, so we had long discussions, and now the outcome is that first we are building this whole thing for Go first. And what I mean with it is the networking part as well as the selectors part. And there's kind of like a split between the networking part and the selectors part. And the selectors part will be implemented in JavaScript and in Go. And the JavaScript version that I work on is almost done, I would say, from the, like, it kind of works. It, of course, needs integration, but the selectors basically work. And so we have at least a foundation of knowing that things seem to work. And then Eric is implementing it in Go. And on the networking side, this will only be in Go to start with. And it will be the protocol that was mostly the protocol that was proposed in the GraphSync B proposal by Juan and Jeremy. And we go with this protocol. And it is likely that on the JavaScript side, we will use something simpler to start with for the networking stuff. But that's still like in the future quarters. So we really concentrate on the selectors first. And we want to get the Go thing shipped, that we really can really transport something over the network. That's the major goals. And then we go from there. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Cool.
My understanding, just to, was that there was actually like an area that we could use a little bit of help from someone who is Go sensitive, is actually taking the great work that Volker's been doing on like the JavaScript test case side and writing kind of Go side bindings for that. Is that correct?
So yes, so basically the plan is that as Eric kind of is the only Go person on the IPLD side, and there's so much things to do, that we try to get some help with it, but I don't know if there's any decision yet, or where this help comes from, but hopefully there will be help. And then someone will help with the selectors part probably, because it's kind of independent from the other things. Yeah. All right.
I also just stuck something in the notes completely separately from GraphSync, but there's a guy named Vasa who's doing a really awesome 6-part ecosystem tutorial of all of the different kind of components of distributed web, covering IPFS, IPLD, libp2p, and Filecoin. And he released part 2, which is all about IPLD, I believe early last week or late the week before that. So I linked it in the notes. Feel free to take a look.
Cool, thanks, yeah. I will certainly check it out. Okay, if there aren't any further comments or questions, then I will close the meeting and thank everyone for attending. And Stephen? Oh, the same happened actually in the last meeting. Everyone was already waving. All right, so yeah, so see you all in 2 weeks. Goodbye.